I think when you look at the collaboration that was going on in those days between the intelligence community and organized crime and the mob, there were very blurry boundaries. And I worry that today the cartels have kind of taken the mob's role in that world.
Meaning the Latin American drug cartels?
Yeah.
Do you think that the U.S. government is working with the cartels?
I mean, working with is broad, right? I mean, the intelligence community's job is to protect the American people, and sometimes they interpret that as requiring collaboration with criminal elements, with terror organizations, ostensibly as part of cover to complete an operation that will save American lives or provide information that would be helpful to American leaders. Clearly, in the 60s, that ended up being manipulated into a broader collaboration that allowed U.S. government elements to undertake activities that they could not directly undertake by law. And, I think we've seen that even with liaison partnerships. It's clear that Five Eyes has been used. Intelligence liaison partners have been used to surveil leaders in our own government when our intelligence agencies could not do it directly because there's no prohibition on sharing intelligence.
Right. So you get a foreign intel service to do the work for you, and then you get the information.
Right. And similarly, you get an NGO or a contractor to censor the American people, or you get a criminal organization to undertake a criminal act that, you might not be so savory for your own officers to do. And that, I never worked in Latin America, so it's not something that I have directly witnessed, but I certainly have direct, knowledge of it happening.
Of the U.S. government collaborating or having some relationship that's not purely antagonistic with the Mexican
Sure.
and or other drug cartels.
Sure. And I think, again, the steel man would be, this is for the benefit of the American people.
Well, it's always for your own good, for sure. Including
look, is there an argument for having penetrations in the top of the cartels in the same way that you do at the top of, the Iranian or Russian or any other adversarial government? Sure. Many of them are as powerful and threatening as a nation state.
The problem, though, is money.
Right.
And there's just so much money spinning off of these enterprises, the cartels, that you could just see corruption happening very easily. And I know one person who was involved in that, who I trust. I can't prove it, but who worked for CIA as a contractor, moving over as so many do from the military. And he's told me at great length about the money that CIA was getting from drug cartels in Latin America and South America, in his case. I can't prove that, but I was shocked to hear that. You don't seem shocked to hear that.
Well, look at Iran-Contra, look at Air America in Vietnam. This is not a new pattern for intelligence. And when you look at black budgets, Congress was stunned that there were operations happening in Niger, and obviously they control the purse strings. So who's funding that? Right. And so that pattern has gone back a long way, where the narcotics trade has funded off-book activities, or that was obviously what happened with the Contras, and has happened before and since.
given how many Americans are dying or whose lives are being destroyed, families wrecked, entire parts of the country just devastated by drugs, it's a little much. I mean, that's like kind of at this point, like Nazi collaboration level immoral, I would say. No?
It is. It's pouring over the border. And along with it, humans and children. And I think we really are seeing the devastation that reaps. As you say, just the sheer scale and the sum of the revenue involved makes it a real challenge.
So what about congressional oversight? I mean, you wonder about the committee chairman in the House, a couple Republicans who I know, who seem to me as an outsider, sort of outsider, completely controlled by the intel agencies. Is that your perception?
I mean, look at Chuck Schumer's comment.
Yes.
They have 6 ways to Sunday to get back at you. Remember when he said that to Rachel Maddow?
Vividly, yeah.
And, she didn't look too surprised. I think it's a known quantity. Obviously, it goes back to Hoover. That was very well known. Within Intel, people say, oh, yeah, that guy has a Hoover file on him, meaning this or that policymaker. Something is known that means that. So
that's real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I look at the Speaker of the House, whose views on everything kind of changed instantly on the foreign policy questions. And I think, what are there's never been a more obedient speaker to the will and whims of the intel community than Mike Johnson. And you sort of wonder, like, what is that?
Well, I
don't know the answer, but
you look at, the legislation that has come up through the House on multiple things, on election integrity, on EMP preparedness, both are two, completely different things. Both of them actually, the SHIELD Act in both cases, but several other iterations that passed the House with real bipartisan support and then just got completely gummed up in the Senate. And these are things that seem so unassailable and supported across the board by, regular American voters and the base across both parties, that you have to ask what Hoover files are involved. And if not a Hoover file, then a second house wherever. But I think
that's so corrupt. It's hard even to believe.
It is, but it's harder to believe that we're not going to do anything to root it out, and I think you have to name a problem and really recognize it before you can fix it. And it's something that I admire about what, Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger did with the Twitter files, was for Elon to go in and say, before I even touch anything on day one, please document for posterity all of the abuses that have been happening here so that A, we can fix them, and B, the American people know this was happening and can prevent it from happening again. And, if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't know what CISA had been up to, which also oversees election integrity, by the way, and how important that
it oversees election integrity.
Yeah, those are its two outside of bridges and ports and regular infrastructure. Those are its two big focuses: are censorship of social media and election integrity.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.